Prince William is reportedly formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH titles.
It's the least that Prince Harry deserves.
I think we're seeing Meghan's true form here. Poor Harry.
Prince Harry's behaviour has sparked an outright revolt across the United Kingdom, and everyone can see it. From the moment he stepped off the throne and proclaimed himself independent, he invited scrutiny, and now Parliament is moving with unwavering resolve to strip him of his titles. Make no mistake, this is a decisive manoeuvre by Britain's highest authorities, and it signals that the monarchy will not tolerate public betrayal.
I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there.
Prince Harry sharing painful and deeply personal details of the family rift.
The tipping point came hot on the heels of Harry's disastrous BBC interview. He chose to go on air mere hours after the Court of Appeal emphatically refused to reverse the decision, denying him taxpayer-funded protection in the UK. He stood before cameras, airing grievances, painting himself as a victim. The moment he chose to bemoan his security loss on national television, he sealed his fate. That wasn't just a misstep. It was a signal that Harry intended to continue bashing the institution that sustained him, even as they refused further resources. Inside Buckingham Palace, silence reigned, but action followed swiftly. Senior royals, led by Prince William, formulated a clear plan. Remove Harry and Meghan's HRH titles immediately. They had an explicit agreement with the late Queen. Once Harry and Meghan stepped back from duties, they would no longer use HRH for personal ventures. Title usage was never a financial vehicle. It was an honour reserved strictly for working royals.
Yes, this is being discussed at the highest level, and you know that this is going to continue to be discussed.
When the House of Lords took up a petition to strip Harry of his Duke of Sussex title, it marked the start of a seismic constitutional move. This was not just a media stunt. It was the full might of Britain's political system stepping in. No one blinked. This was about protecting the monarchy from internal threat. Can you imagine? A prince, born into privilege, had turned his back on every unwritten rule and decided to vilify the institution from his California perch. Parliament responded with precision. Invoke the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917. That archaic law, once used to strip titles from royals who sided with enemies in World War I, now applied to Harry's relentless public assaults on the crown. Meghan, meanwhile, continued to portray herself as a victim of palace toxicity. Observers saw this as blatant hypocrisy, especially when she still used her title for a podcast gift basket, thanking the host with compliments of Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. That was a direct affront to the agreement with Queen Elizabeth, who explicitly warned that the HRH style was not up for grabs.
I think it was just a really good opportunity to choose a title that had been somewhat used against me for a long part of my life.
Prince William, ever the dutiful heir, watched from the sidelines. He quietly endorsed the decisive move to strip Harry and Meghan of their honours. His silence spoke volumes. This was family business, but it was also the monarchy's business. He knew exactly what was at stake, the continuity of public trust in the institution his father would one day lead. Harry's continued use of HRH to bolster his ventures rubbed William the wrong way. Every time Meghan stamped her title onto a business card or Harry signed a contract as the Duke of Sussex, they chipped away at the very foundation of what the monarchy stood for. William had no choice but to approve the swift removal of those designations. Meanwhile, public debate erupted over the idea of title laundering. Critics accused Harry of using his royal status to open doors for political activism in the United States, an unprecedented move for a British royal. Royals were expected to remain neutral, to represent unity above partisan divides. Harry's vocal support for causes in America, including subtle criticism of the First Amendment, walked a fragile line. Lawmakers saw it as a dangerous precedent, a foreign royal meddling in US politics under the guise of an HRH title. That was the final straw. They refused to allow British royal designations to become political weapons.
That you either respect the system, you have your titles, everyone sort of doffs their hat, especially in the US.
Then came the official announcement. Buckingham Palace declared, in no uncertain terms, that Harry and Meghan would no longer formally represent the Queen. They would lose access to public funds and must cease using their HRH titles. Those changes, effective immediately, made one thing clear: the monarchy was not to be toyed with. Harry's attempts to present himself as a global truth-teller did not shield him from the reality that the crown does not reward insubordination. All privileges had consequences, and he had triggered the ultimate one. Harry's reaction was exactly as observers predicted, that he raged at friends on the phone, unable to believe that the institution he once revered had turned its back. He felt betrayed, but that anger only underscored the wisdom of Parliament's decision. If he truly respected his heritage, he would have chosen reconciliation over spectacle.
Or you live quietly as individuals. But you can't trade and trash. You can't trade on your royal status whilst at the same time trashing.
Meghan, though physically removed from the UK, could not escape the impact. By holding on to HRH for her personal ventures, she proved that her allegiance was opportunistic, not genuine. Buckingham Palace watched silently, but took note. Every time she leveraged that title, it provoked public outrage. Stripping her of that nominal link comforted the establishment. It sent a clear message. No royalty on paper if you do not honor the spirit. Some argue this is a constitutional crisis. Let them, no one seriously believes it. This is a constitutional process in action, safeguarding centuries of tradition from a member who decided the rules did not apply to him. The fact that Harry descended from heir to spare and then from beloved prince to public pariah in mere months is a testament to how fast loyalty can evaporate when one chooses to betray trust. The monarchy's swift response has been efficient, resolute, and absolutely necessary.
The dust is settled. What's the king saying? How's he reacting to this interview?
The dust on this will never settle. So here's the problem.
In Sussex, locals celebrated their victory. They had reclaimed their duke's title for something real: local pride, community representation. In cafes and pubs, regular folks toasted the decision. No longer would they feel tarnished by the duke's rhetoric. He had betrayed them, and now his title was meaningless in his home county. That sense of vindication fortified public support for the monarchy's choice. Britain's no tradition is not a relic. It's a living contract between the crown and its people. Harry broke that contract spectacularly.
You know, my brother and I love each other. I love him deeply. There has been a lot of pain between the two of us, especially the last 6 years.
Harry and Meghan no longer held official roles. They lost public funding. They lost HRH usage. That was it. End of story. No dramatics, just cold, clear facts. The monarchy spoke through that silence, conveying that loyalty and discretion are prized above all else. Across the pond, opinion remained divided. Harry's allies labelled the decision draconian and arrogant, suggesting that modernizing forces should have embraced his candor. But their arguments fell flat against the central fact. You cannot publicly undermine the institution that provides you a prestigious title and then expect to keep that title. Meghan's response was measured, if not entirely sincere. She focused on her charitable work, removing HRH from her social media profiles. She tried to project an image of graceful acceptance, but the public saw through it. She still held on to any remnant of royal cachet she could find. Every new interview or appearance seemed calculated to suggest that her viewpoint was more enlightened than the palace's stubbornness. But Britons had grown tired of that tactic. They recognized it as yet another attempt to leverage royal history for personal gain. Prince William maintained unwavering composure. He did not break ranks, neither did he gloat. Behind closed doors, however, he likely recognized the significance of this moment. He witnessed how gravity and consequence could ground even the most privileged member of the family. William's silent endorsement was as potent as any public statement he could have made. In that silence, he made clear where loyalty lay, with the institution above all else.
He was shouting at me, I was shouting back at him. It wasn't nice, it wasn't pleasant at all. And he snapped, and he pushed me to the floor.
He knocked you over?
He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
You cut your back?
Yeah, I cut my back. I didn't know about it at the time. She goes, "What's that?" I was like, what? I actually didn't know what she was talking about. And I looked in the mirror, I was like...
In Hollywood, some producers quietly re-evaluated their stance. Would audiences still tune in for a series by a former prince who no longer bore royal status? Would book tours sell as well without the sterling Duke of Sussex attached to his name? The entertainment world thrives on novelty, but it also clings to prestige. With the title removed, Harry lost his unique selling point. He was just another celebrity now, no longer possessing the cachet that comes with royalty. Industry insiders predicted he might pivot to discussing more general philanthropic work, but without the sheen of a title, success would be harder to guarantee. As for Harry, his future remained uncertain. Stripped of his last official connection to the crown, He had two choices. He could retreat, accept the verdict, and forge a quieter path away from royal affairs. Or he could double down on his criticisms, embrace a martyr narrative, and risk deeper alienation. So far, he has displayed neither humility nor contrition, only anger and defiance. If he pursues a further backlash, he will only cement his status as an exile from the institution. The momentum is fully against him. History is not on his side. Meghan, similarly, faced a crossroads. She could distance herself from royal controversies, focus on her foundation's work in mental health or gender equality. That path would at least allow her to build an identity independent of a title. But her refusal to let go of HRH until the very end suggests she might cling to royal associations for as long as possible. If she continues down that road, she will clash with any future push to separate her entirely from that heritage, an outcome she has already postponed and fought against.
Now, a staggering 2/3 of Brits are calling for Harry and Meghan to be stripped of their HRH titles. A new poll by Find Out Now has revealed that most of the public is supporting the king in this family feud, ongoing family feud, after Harry's bombshell
Prince William, rising as the future heir, secured his position as a steady guardian of royal values. His tacit backing of the decision made clear where the torch of duty will burn brightest. He demonstrated that family disputes do not override the monarchy's needs. His example sends a message to any future royals. Trade your titles, betray your family, and you will find no sanctuary within the institution's walls. From the people's perspective, nothing felt accidental. Their fierce demands had reshaped centuries-old traditions, affirming that the monarchy must be accountable. British citizens demonstrated unwavering resolve. They had raised their voices in towns and cities and flooded medical surveys and petitions until Parliament could no longer ignore them. That unity underscored a simple truth. The monarchy belongs to the public conscience. If the public turns against a member, that member's ties vanish, regardless of birthright. And so, on that decisive day, Harry watched as his official identity was erased. The official announcement carried the weight of finality. No more HRH, no more Duke of Sussex, no more government funding. He became Mr. Harry Windsor, a private citizen. In an instant, headlines shifted from Prince reacts to scandal to former royal now just another public figure. The metamorphosis was stark, from royal lodgings to mansion in California, and from headlines about palace intrigue to whispers about his next move. He had traded privilege for protest, and now he faced the consequences of that trade without the buffer of royal status.
I would love reconciliation with my family. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
Meghan too felt the sting. Without a title, her platform lost a measure of prestige. She still had her foundation and her narrative of overcoming adversity, but no longer could she claim Duchess as a guarantee of credibility. That shift changed how media outlets and philanthropists viewed her work. It forced her to prove herself outside the shadow of the crown. An uphill battle, but one she could no longer avoid. Prince William's star shone brighter in the aftermath. He travelled across the Commonwealth, attended state events, and carried himself with the dignified confidence expected of a future king. Every time he appeared, he reminded the public that the monarchy remained steadfast. Their faith in him, already strong, only grew deeper. Observers noted that William understood the system from top to bottom, and his handling of this family rift would be studied for decades as a lesson in leadership. Across the former empire, reactions varied, but consensus leaned toward respect for the British approach. In Canada, Australia, and beyond, government officials whispered that they would watch closely to see if other royal family members tested the boundaries. The message was clear. Loyalty to tradition is non-negotiable. Royals who step outside their roles must accept the cost. That global reverberation underscored Britain's influence. What happened at Buckingham Palace mattered in every realm where the Queen's name once carried ultimate authority.
to Prince Harry's allegations, Buckingham Palace have actually released a statement, which is very unusual, to be fair. All of these issues have been examined repeatedly and meticulously by the courts, with the same conclusion reached on each occasion.
In Hollywood, analyses shifted from personal attacks to industry evaluations. Would Harry still draw the same audience? Some executives hedged their bets. Yes, his story remained compelling, but the luster of royalty had dimmed. Contracts for new documentaries suddenly looked less certain. Sponsors hesitated to align with someone who no longer carried an official seal of approval. It became obvious that the power of a royal title extends far beyond palace walls. When stripped away, you face a different level of challenge. As months passed, Harry embraced a lower profile. He devoted time to personal interests, mental health advocacy, veterans' welfare, but without the gravitational pull of his title, he discovered the limits of his influence. He faced closed doors that had once opened easily. Invitations to prestigious events dwindled, and his social media presence drew less fervent engagement. While he retained celebrity status, he no longer boasted the mystique of a royal scion. He learned fast that privilege withdrawn becomes permanent unless earned anew.
All right, well, the rift in the royal family is once again in the spotlight, with Prince Harry airing his grievances to the world after losing a security battle.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point.
In the months following the title deprivation, public discourse settled into a new normal. People reflected on the lessons from Harry's downfall. Loyalty is non-negotiable, and privilege can vanish with a single vote. The monarchy's actions united a divided country, reaffirming that tradition, when wielded wisely, can command respect and ensure continuity. Harry's journey became a cautionary tale of how privilege must be balanced with responsibility. As for Harry himself, he began to accept that any bridge to the crown was burned. His ambitious plans for a podcast empire and new documentaries no longer carried the same fanfare. He realized, perhaps too late, that once you weaponize your title against the institution, you forfeit it. His future involved forging an identity independent of royal lineage, a formidable task for someone defined by that very lineage. But even in exile from the crown's orbit, he retained his voice. He could still champion causes he believed in. He could still shape narratives. The critical difference was that he would now do so as a private citizen, without the institutional shield or stamp of approval.
Harry and Meghan's detractors have been calling for them to be stripped of their HRH since they left the royal family over 5 years ago. But those calls seem to be growing louder and from a more widespread community. And I think that's partly because of this interview over the weekend, which has actually backfired spectacularly on Prince.
In Britain, the monarchy moved on, hailed for its decisiveness. The public regained confidence in the institution's relevance. This was not about vengeance. It was about enforcing an unspoken covenant that had held strong for centuries. If a royal expects to dissect the monarchy from afar, he must accept that the crown will defend itself, swiftly, firmly, without apology. That simple logic dictated Harry's fate. Cut the cord with your family, and you willingly relinquish every title, every privilege. The entire ordeal exemplifies a core principle. Loyalty underpins the British monarchy's survival. Titles are not mere ornaments, they carry weight, authority, and expectations. When a royal tosses those expectations aside for personal gain, the institution counters with an equally forceful response. Harry discovered that speed. He traded allegiance for notoriety, and the crown responded by removing his platform.
People are starting to lose patience and certainly lose interest in his many court battles, but also because last week it was revealed that Meghan has been using this HRH in a private capacity. There was a with compliments slip given to a celebrity friend of hers, and that was expressly forbidden by the Queen. They were able to keep the HRH, they just weren't supposed to use it. So I think people have sort of...
In the end, Prince Harry's meltdown was neither minor nor sentimental. It was definitive. He bore witness to the ultimate consequence of choosing spectacle over solidarity. The House of Lords moved with resolute confidence to sever his ties, and the British people cheered that demonstration of institutional strength. History will remember this moment as the day a prince lost everything by underestimating the power of tradition. No further crisis looms. The message is clear and unambiguous. Royals who betray their duty will be reminded, quickly and decisively, that titles demand unwavering loyalty, and there is no half measure in defending the crown.